Yo, what it do, beautiful people? It is that time for the Cortez Hustle Show. And yes, it is our Friday edition. So y'all know what that means, man. We're talking Black economic empowerment. And today we're focusing on Black community redevelopment. We're going to talk about capital strategies, right? Are we losing out on a huge opportunity here? Um, that's the biggest question, right? Are we missing an opportunity to create jobs and other business opportunities, right? We're also going to talk about the Black church's role in this whole deal as well. So I'm excited, man. Hopefully you guys are excited. Buckle up, hold on tight. Let's go ahead and roll the intro.
It up, put the hip shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real wealth is being real with self. My eyes done seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. It's time to switch it up, put the hip shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real wealth is being real with self. My eyes done seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help.
Money, money, money. That's all he talks
There's
about.
nothing wrong with being wealthy. Like Kanye West says, having money is not everything, not having it is. No, Deuteronomy 8:18 says God gives us the ability to create wealth.
Money is the root of all
No, it's the love of money that's the root of all evil.
All my money. Oh, kid.
Yes, I do think about other things than money.
Money.
I'm just trying to leave a legacy for my money's not everything, but when you got it, you can do some cool stuff.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show. I'm excited for this Friday's edition. We're talking Black community redevelopment. Is there an opportunity for us to gentrify our own neighborhoods? That is the question, ladies and gentlemen. Do me a huge favor as you guys are popping on to the Facebook Live and the YouTube Live. Go ahead and comment in the chat where you're from. Also drop the name of your business and or your brand. Love to give you a free shout out as I often do. Excited to partner with each and every one of you guys and share this information with you. For those of you who do not know me, my name is H. Cortez, also known as the one and only financial health mentor, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur from monetizemylifenow.com. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have, not if you have, I know you have a special gift, talent, or ability, or even an experience that you may want to learn how to package and present to the marketplace, then you've got to go check out Monetize My Life. 4 incredibly simple ways to turn your passions into profits. Go to monetizemylifenow.com. The book is yours absolutely free. You just cover shipping and we will get that right out to you. Again, monetizemylifenow.com. Let's see who we have hopping on the stream. We have Brenda from Baltimore is in the building. Mary Evans from the SOS show is in the building. Welcome. Go ahead and drop the name of your business and or your brand for those shout outs, man. And we're going to get right into our lesson for today. And your price for admission to today's show is one that it's very inexpensive. In fact, it costs you nothing. It's a simple share, ladies and gentlemen. If you share the stream, then that allows us to reach more and more people. Tafu Entertainment, I hope I'm saying that right, from Philadelphia is checking in as well. So as you guys know, our Friday editions are all about Black economic empowerment. How can Black people in America transform and rebuild their communities and create opportunities for themselves? We're doing a study on Dr. George C. Fraser's book, Race for Success, the 10 best business opportunities for Blacks in America. And we're going to focus on the, one of the 10 is urban redevelopment. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So let's see. Butch from DC is in the building. Welcome. Alliant ATM Services for 18 years. Welcome. So we're going to dive right in, man. I've been talking about this for seems like the last 4 or 5 years. It is something that it just seems like it just makes perfect sense to me, right? We tend to see in our communities what's now been popularized as gentrification. And I see a lot of people in the Black community, Black people seem to be very upset when it comes to gentrification in our communities, in our neighborhoods. And it baffles me that we're upset that somebody else sees value in our community that we, for some reason, don't see, and they decide to invest in our community and they rebuild, rehash, redevelop, and help to beautify our community. And then we take offense to that. And I know at the core of why we're taking offense because we see it as somewhat of a non-hostile takeover, right? Well, at the end of the day, man, we've got to remember that this is capitalism. Wherever you see value and you can get your hands on that value under market price, it just makes sense, man. And here's what I want us to focus a little bit more on. We have to start seeing that value ourselves, man. You know, some of these same buildings that other cultures are coming in and buying, they're fixing up, they're putting their business in, they're turning them into lofts and all of these things. These buildings have been in our communities vacant and dormant since forever. Did we not see the value in those things? Could we have not put our pennies together and made that same investment? Could we have not brought some of our homeboys and our homegirls today who have skills, who have trades, and started to rebuild and redevelop our own community? That's my call to you guys today. It's time for us to gentrify our own communities. And we don't have to worry about or wait on someone else to do it for us. That way, we don't have to get mad at other cultures when they see the value in our opportunities. So, I'm looking at this book. Now, keep in mind, this book was written 20 plus years ago, right? Over 20 years ago, 1998, I think is the published year for this book. But he breaks down several different things in the book. And if you guys got questions, comments, you guys know I love the interaction, I love the engagement. He breaks down several different categories in the book. We're not going to hit on all of them, but we're going to hit on three main ones that I think we should be checking out. He breaks down where we can get in public housing, right? Public housing is a government deal, but guess what? Governments actually have to hire local people, local contractors to build these housing projects, right? So we're gonna not spend a whole lot of time on that unless that's something that you guys want to get into. We most certainly can. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast, always remember that you can go to the CortezHustleShow.com if you want to see my ugly mug and see how we interact with the show live, or you can catch us on Facebook and YouTube, both under the Cortez Hustle Show. He talks about build it yourself communities, right? We're going to spend some time on this today, coming together and building our communities together with no outside help, because we don't have to have outside help. We're going to talk about capital strategies. How do we finance such endeavors? And yes, there are ways that we can finance these endeavors that don't require us going to a bank, because we know banks historically have made it extremely difficult for people of color and other minorities to obtain funding. But there's ways that we can capitalize these investments, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all the jobs and business opportunities that will be created. He talks about volunteering as an opportunity, and then economic deliverance, the role that the church plays. And we're going to spend some time on that as well. Ann said it's not that we don't see it. In most cases, such as mine, they won't lend us the necessary resources to capitalize on those opportunities most of the time, as I have lived it anyway. Okay, and we're going to actually talk about some ways that you can capitalize, that you can get and become your own funding source. So I knew that was going to come up, and listen, I am not denying that red taping, redlining, and the fact that we can, borrow money to buy cars that we can't afford, but we can't borrow money to start businesses and can't borrow money to get into enterprise and make investments. Listen, I get it. I'm not denying that, but I am so past focusing on problems and I'm more trying to be solution oriented. So if banks won't lend to us, how can we get around that to still take advantage of these opportunities? And quiet as it's kept, y'all, a lot of the gentrification that's going on isn't bank funded in a lot of our communities. Now, the major developments, yes, but when we're talking about um, other cultures coming in, buying properties very low price, and they might buy three or four of them on the same block, a lot of times that's private money, man. So let's get into I think what I wanted to focus on is not the public housing deal, but let's talk a little bit about what he says from a build your own community standpoint, right? Uh, and this one is, he talks about a small group of Black residents came up with the idea of Marin City in USA, a 45-acre redevelopment project intended to create jobs, businesses, business contracts, affordable housing, and community facilities in a predominantly Black neighborhood outside of Oakland, California. They brought together 21 social service agencies to plan the $110 million four-year development project. It says when he visited the project, he met with the the executives of the project, Al Fleming and Betty Times, the executive director, and made checked out the development. And he said, I saw African Americans employed in the front offices, in the retail centers, and on the construction site. 50% of all available jobs and 20% of all contracts went to minorities. A job training facility trains workers who hold the 400 permanent jobs that support the project. Within the community, a retail outlet houses a grocery store, drugstore, clothing store, fast food restaurants, cleaners, and a micro enterprise center that trains potential entrepreneurs. 40% of the townhouses and rental properties are rented to low income and moderate income residents who have received financial assistance, tax credits, and opportunities to attend home buyers workshops. The road has been hard, but with the grace of God and power, vision, Al Fleming and Betty Times are helping to create a community that will improve the lives. So that is just people coming together saying, hey, man, we want to see something happen. Let's pull in all the resources that we can. But I want to really focus a little bit of time on capital strategies, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see. All right. So it talks about prosperity in this particular program. It says, although government programs like empowerment zones and HUDs hope for provide the framework for rebuilding our neighborhoods, some communities have taken charge of their own development. In New York City's Brownville section, chains like Payless, Dunkin' Donuts, and Martin Paints have opened outlets. Banks have written millions of dollars worth of mortgages. Prosperity here has grown out of the entrepreneurial spirit of a small group of Caribbean immigrants who took one of the city's most blighted and feared neighborhoods and turned it into a thriving community. How did they do this? Right? Here's the question. Because I guarantee you, they didn't get the loans either, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't get the funding, but what did they do? Immigrants from Jamaica, Haiti, and a dozen other Caribbean nations have brought with them the zeal for work instilled by the threat of starvation at home. As Dr. Waldada Stewart explained to Forbes magazine, the typical immigrant is willing to take jobs that many Americans are not willing to take. In hospitals, they end up taking janitorial jobs, disposing of medical waste, lifting 200-pound patients, unpleasant, difficult work that may pay less than $20,000 per year when it comes, but when it's combined with income from several family members, it's a whole different story. So are we willing to eat crap for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and pool our resources to make something happen? Banks are actively seeking business from these immigrants who pooled their savings in a network called a SUSU, which is similar to Korean Key Club or our own Christmas Savings Club. And I've got to give a shout out here to the Black Billionaires Club, run by Evan Jefferson, because that's exactly what we do. Peer-to-peer lending. There's an investment club. There is a community of people building wealth together, ladies and gentlemen. So each Susu partner contributes a set amount of about $100 per week to the Susu, which is loaned out in pots totaling thousands of dollars as down payments on a housing or business startups, right? So these are opportunities that people are creating themselves, ladies and gentlemen. It is not necessarily banks creating these opportunities. Now, I want to talk a little bit about a unique funding source that I've been studying recently, and I finally connected with someone that can help me put this in place. But there's a little known wealth strategy that has been passed down at wealthy tables from generation to generation, and it's called infinite banking concept, right? Popularized by R. Nelson Nash, but not invented by him, but he wrote a book on becoming your own bank. And it is simple as this, ladies and gentlemen. It's leveraging the power of life insurance as a funding source for your entire life. I'm actually going to have my good buddy Curtis May on the show to come and really break that down. But let me give you some insight as to what it is, right? It is permanent life insurance with a dividend paying life insurance company that is structured for cash, meaning you're going to, instead of saving your money in a regular savings account, you're going to save your money in a whole life insurance policy, right? That the company is going to pay dividends so that your investment will grow, but it's structured for cash, meaning you're going to ultimately capitalize your policy to where you have a good death benefit, but you also have the ability to borrow against that policy. Now, let's say that 10 of us have said policies, right? And those policies are capitalized at $100,000. And it might take us 3, 4, 5 years to get them capitalized. But if 10 of us have these policies capitalized, and then we run into an opportunity where it might cost us $250,000 to get $2 million worth of asset. If it's 10 of us, we can all borrow $25,000 from that policy and we can take advantage of that opportunity. So when we're saying that banks won't lend to us, we have never been a people that has not persevered, right? Christina says, I already have one. I'm telling you, more and more people need to study the writing of R. Nelson Nash and some of these books on how the Rockefellers, uh, um, what would the Rockefellers do and that kind of stuff. That's what they're doing. They're using and benefiting from whole life, not just from the wealth transfer when you die, but imagine being able to finance everything that you already financed, but through your own company bank, right? And here's what you got to understand. When you borrow the 25,000 so that we can come together and go get this $2 million asset, your money still grows as if the whole $100,000 is still there. So we've got to get past the initial banks won't lend to us, so we're not going to be able to gentrify our own companies, our own communities. No, we're past that. Let's find other sources. Let's find other ways to finance these opportunities that exist for us. So start doing your research. There's another couple on YouTube that I'm also going to work to get on the show. Go to YouTube and look up Wealth Nation. Go to my man Curtis May's um, podcast, The Practical Wealth Show. Right? If you want to learn infinite banking concept, those are two sources that you can check out definitely, and they will help you out tremendously. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a quick break, man, and when we come back on the other side of this break, we're gonna break down the amount of jobs that can be created and business opportunities that if we take this seriously, we can put our children to work and get them off the street corners. There's a lot of opportunity here. And as the saying goes, you can kill two birds with one stone. Now, why would somebody want to kill a bird in the first place? I don't know, but we can kill multiple birds with this one stone if we focus some time, energy, and effort. So keep it locked right here, and we'll be back on this other side of the break. The Cortez Hustle Show is brought to you by Financial Health Mentor, practical, proven wealth building strategies specifically for working class Americans. Go to financialhealthmembership.com, learn how to get your taxes down, credit up, get out of debt, and start accumulating assets. Financialhealthmembership.com. Cortez Hustle Show is also brought to you by freefunnelmachine.com. If you've ever wanted to use sales funnels in your business, but not quite ready to fork over hundreds of dollars per month for funnel building software, then now you can incorporate sales funnels into your process absolutely free. Freefunnelmachine.com includes free autoresponder, includes free training, and it is free for life. Freefunnelmachine.com. The Cortez Hustle Show is also brought to you by Office Huddle Print Shop. All of the graphic designs, logos that you see for iHustle Media Group and the Cortez Hustle Show are courtesy of Office Huddle Print Shop. Check out their exclusive unlimited graphics package at officehuddleprint.com. The Cortez Hustle Show is a copywritten production of iHustle Media Group. Any unauthorized use of video, captions, audio, depiction of this show is strictly prohibited. iHustle Media Group, a better way to market. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show, coming to you live and direct from the Monetize My Life studios here in St. Louis, Missouri. Guys, if you have not learned how to package and present your gifts, talents, special abilities, or experiences and present them to the marketplace so you can turn them into income, go to monetizemylifenow.com. Get your free copy of my best-selling book, Monetize My Life, 4 incredibly simple ways to turn your passions into profits. MonetizeMyLifeNow.com. We're talking about Black community redevelopment, all of the opportunities that can stem from us redeveloping our own communities. And it looks like Keisha said the YouTube recommendations, youtube.com/Wealth Nation. Darren and I forget his wife's name. They do a great job of breaking down what infinite banking concept is. Also, Curtis May of the Practical Wealth Show is another one, and that's also on YouTube, and it's also a podcast as well. So those are two sources. And then the book is Become Your Own Bank by R. Nelson Nash. Those are some great resources to start learning how you can become your own bank, and we can be our own funding sources, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have to get banks involved. But yeah, do me a favor, make sure you guys hit that share button, ladies and gentlemen. This type of content is what more and more of us are yearning for, but sometimes it's hard to find. So when you find it, make sure you share it. So let's talk about jobs, man. Jobs. Business opportunities that can be created if we take this seriously. Jobs in the hood, right? Experts in skills, trades, and crafts will be in demand to build housing, industrial complexes, sewers, and roads. This work demands people with a range of talents and educational backgrounds, managerial clerical workers, skilled and semi-skilled craft and trades workers. Opportunities will boom for trade constructions, masons and carpenters, painters, plasterers, roofers, plumbers, electricians, and sheet metal workers, ladies and gentlemen. If we undertake the rebuilding of our own community, another thing that I'm sick and tired of us hearing, or sick and tired of hearing us say, is we can't find work. Companies won't hire us. They hating on us. Yeah, I got my degree. I did a great interview, but they gave the job to somebody of another ethnic background. Man, listen, that very well may be true, ladies and gentlemen, but we are still in America. And I don't want that to go over your head that in America, one of the few places on this planet you have the ability to create your opportunities. I'm gonna say it again, man. One of the few places on the planet where you have the ability to create your opportunities, right? This is why I'm a big fan of trade schools over college, especially initially coming right out of high school. Is there a place for you to get a degree? Absolutely. But for us in particular, if we know that getting the degree doesn't guarantee us a job, and most degrees, you can't turn a degree into a business in a lot of cases, why not develop trade skills when our young, especially our young men, are 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, getting these trades under their belt while they're going through high school, maybe taking another 18 months right out of high school. So now they have a marketable skill that they can either go to work for somebody or they can build their own business behind. And then if they want to go to college, they have a skill that will allow them to pay their way through college and not have to borrow a gazillion dollars. Am I just off base on that? Your kid can, I know here in St. Louis, they have trade schools. You can go to regular school half the day and go to trade school the other half of the day. Your kid can come out of trade school in a lot of cases with an associate's degree in a trade like electrical, plumbing, HVAC. They come out of those schools with that marketable skill. They can go right into a high paying job. And if they decide that they want a degree to further advance their career, they can afford to pay for that degree without the loans, right? So, Buck says, excellent show. Once we work on obtaining funding, we need to first start by not letting our family property leave the family. Ooh, you about to step on some toes there, Butch. But if or find a friend to buy it. Our folks worked hard to purchase property and we almost give it away. Yeah, man, and that goes to some of the social benefits of us rebuilding our own communities, right? Because when we rebuild them, we make them into places that we want to live and we won't experience black flight, right? See, we know about white flight. White flight is where when a predominantly white community gets about 5 to 6% black people moving in, then they tend to move out, right? Well, that same, because our communities start to go down, then let's be clear about something, man. We think that because we're black and some of the communities that are run down are populated by black people, we think black people want to be around a bunch of mess. No, we don't want to be around a bunch of mess. What I'm saying though is, yes, there's a reason, and I'm guilty of this myself. Fled to the suburbs. Why? Because I'm thinking about safety for my children. I'm thinking about safety for thinking about school districts and things of that nature. Well, what if instead of us fleeing, we put our roots down and we anchored our roots and we ran the drug dealers out of the community. We ran uh, the teachers out who don't really want to teach, the administrators, the politicians out who really don't want to build our communities. What if that was the flight that took place where when you wanted to come to our community and just ride our coattails and not bring any value to the community, you get run out. When you want to bring death and destruction into our communities, instead of me running and taking my family to the suburbs, what if we came together and we ran those folks out, right? Precious said, received the book in Seattle. Well, thank you so much for ordering the book. I'm glad you received it. I hope you like it. Um, so that's that. And I went off on a tangent. We're talking about the jobs that were created, ladies and gentlemen. So we know that the certain skill sets are going to be needed, right? I talk a lot about the California Gold Rush because I think we can draw parallels to a lot of things that's happening today. See, the gold rush, they found veins of gold, and that word of instant riches traveled the world, and people flew out to California to mine and pan for gold, right? Well, another proverbial gold rush is happening right now, even while we're in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic. I want y'all to understand something, man. This pandemic is creating one of the greatest wealth transfers that we will ever see in our lifetimes. My question to you is any of that wealth being transferred to you? The greatest wealth transfer in our lifetime, perhaps in all of human history, is happening right now during COVID-19. Is any of that wealth being transferred to you? Are you positioning yourself so that when we get on the other side of this thing, that some of that wealth is going to be transferred to you and your family? See, the information age is very similar to the California Gold Rush. Four groups of people really, really crushed it during the California Gold Rush. Four groups of people are really crushing it right now during this information age. Who are those four groups of people? The person who initially struck gold. There are some people right now who are making some moves, and it's going to seem like they are an overnight success. But the same with the person who struck gold, they weren't an overnight success. They had to dig, they had to mine, they had to pan, they had to do a lot of stuff to hit those veins, right? And find that gold. So you got the person who strikes gold. In the information age, there are some people like the Googles of the world, some people like the Ubers of the world. They use and leverage this technology and they position themselves to blow up, right? Then you have the people who created the tools that were needed to mine for gold. Guess what? There's people who are creating tools right now for us to leverage during this pandemic, making a killing. Amazon making a killing right now. Zoom, TikTok, StreamYard, other online platforms that allow us to interact, be together apart, right? They're making a killing right now. Can you be one of those people in this information age? Can you be one of those people as we get into redeveloping our community that builds some of the tools that we're going to need to redevelop our community, right? Then there are the people who sell the tools, the retailers. So maybe you're not a manufacturer of a hammer or a nail or a buzz saw. Maybe you just become the hardware store right in the heart of the community that sells all of those tools. Maybe you become not the Levi's, right? Because Levi's came from the gold rush. right? You're not the manufacturer of the jeans, but you are the Sears and Roebuck or the J.C. Penney's who sells the jeans to the miners. Maybe you are the person that you don't create the tools, but you sell the tools to the people who need the tools to do the work. And then there's the people who financed it all, right? I want to talk about private investing really quickly. There's somebody in your family right now who's got some gifts and some talents. They've got some skills. They're putting in the work. You believe in them, but you don't believe in them to the point to invest $5,000, $10,000 into their operation to help them take it to the next level. See, what if you owned 10% of 10 different growing companies? See, we got to start looking at this thing. What if you owned a small percentage of the construction company that's going to rebuild your community? Right? So, not only are there going to be opportunities and jobs created, there are going to be opportunities for businesses to be created, right? Say, for instance, we got together and 1,000 of us put together $1,000 every month into a pool. That's $1 million per month. And in St. Louis, with $1 million, I can probably go buy 10 square blocks of land in the inner city, right? And say those 10 square blocks, between 1,000 of us who put $1,000 in, we go buy the 10 square blocks month one. And then month two, we got another $1 million to start the renovation and the rehab. That's going to create the jobs. And who do we hire? We hire the people who live in those 10 square blocks, who are out of work, who need work, right? But let's talk about business opportunities that's going to be created because of we just gave jobs to a bunch of people in that community. Those people are going to need somewhere to eat. So restaurants can start popping up. Those people are going to need somewhere to shop. So strip malls can start popping up. Those people are going to need some lunch and some groceries. So perhaps a grocery store pops up. Well, guess what? Somebody's got to build that stuff too. There's going to be a lot of unskilled people who need those jobs. So now an institution pops up to train and educate those people by way of electrical, plumbing, heating, cooling. See, we don't have to continue to send our kids to schools that are where they got to get financing and there's no guarantee of a job when they get done. Right? We can create our own carpenters union, our own electrical unions with contractors from our community who've got 30, 40 years in business, and they can start apprenticeships. And come on, y'all. These opportunities, if we took redeveloping our communities seriously, look at all the things that we can accomplish. Right? You don't have to worry about your baby going somewhere else to get a job because there's a job right in this community. Remember the days when our parents worked in the community and they could literally walk to work? We can bring that back if we're redeveloping our communities in this way. Right? This is the power that we have, but we've got to focus. Now, does it require everybody to focus? No, it don't require everybody, man. Everybody ain't coming. I want y'all to put that in the comments. Everybody ain't coming. But everybody can participate. See, they might not invest, they might not lift a hammer, but when we beautify the neighborhood and we create the restaurants and the shops and the entertainment venues in the neighborhood, they'll come through and shop with us. We'll take that too. We'll take that too, ladies and gentlemen. But it takes a supernatural focus and some vision to make this stuff come to pass, right? When we come back, another quick break, man, and we're going to talk about the church's role in this redevelopment. And I'm starting to see it here in St. Louis. There's a few churches, man, who own blocks and blocks and blocks of land and buildings and resources. But let's talk a little bit about the church's role and how they can play an even bigger role in this Black community redevelopment and how everybody can eat if we all get on the same page. So keep it locked right here.
I have done 2 prior Longevity Better Health Now challenges. I decided this time around I needed an extra push. A good thing to remember is 32 pounds is the weight of my 3.5-year-old son, and I am not carrying around a 3.5-year-old basically.
I'm a mother of 4. I just want to see how healthy I can get so that I can be around for a while. It's pretty amazing whenever you're excited to get on the scales every morning and see what the numbers are instead of dreading it.
When I went to convention last year, the day of the 5K, this lady, Merle, came across the finish line. And she was visually impaired, she was blind. From this day forth, I said, I'm changing my lifestyle, and I'm just gonna be a whole new me.
I was out of control. I really let myself go. And I thought, okay, who loses 12 pounds in a week? I'm like, this is such a joke. But it happened, and it happened again, and again, and again. Anybody can do this. If I can do it, you can do it.
Leading up to today has been a whirlwind, but I feel amazing. Everybody makes you feel really awesome when you come here too, so it just kind of like heightens your excitement about everything.
I feel so much better. If I could help just one person be able to do that for their life, then it'd be worth it all.
I feel amazing. I can't believe how far I've came from last year to this year.
I have kept my weight off within 2 to 5 pounds, which is a complete miracle. Let's go!
Yo, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show, coming live and direct from the Monetize My Life studios here in St. Louis, Missouri. Make sure you guys go pick up your free book, Monetize My Life, 4 incredibly simple ways to turn your passions into profits. All you got to do is go to monetizemylifenow.com. The book is yours absolutely free. You just cover shipping and we will get it right out to you. So before we went off to break, we were talking about the redevelopment of the Black community and how we can become our own funding sources using things like Susu economics, using the infinite banking concept. We talked about all of the various jobs that can be created by redeveloping our community, and not just jobs, but also other business opportunities that can be created. But I wanted to also talk, give you a couple examples of what's happening with some of the ministries in Black churches in certain pockets who are starting to understand the power of economic redevelopment and the economic empowerment for our community and how it can be led by the church. I think a lot of times churches want to stay away from money. Pastors don't want to be seen as prosperity preachers, but there are more verses in the Bible on fiscal responsibility and money than there are on salvation and faith combined. I'm going to run that one back. There are more verses in the Bible on finances, money, and fiscal responsibility than there are on salvation and faith combined. Am I saying that pastors should not preach the gospel of Jesus Christ? As a Christian, of course they should. Am I saying do they not preach and teach faith? Of course they should. But they got to step their game up, man, and start teaching economic empowerment, financial literacy, more of the scriptures where God says that he gave us a power to gain wealth. We've got to start teaching people that they've been given gifts and talents, and those gifts will make room for them at the top. We've got to be teaching and helping to breed Proverbs 31 women. That woman was industrious. She took care of her home and she was a business owner. Ephesians 5 men. We've got to really address the whole purpose the whole individual spiritually. Yes, I gave my life to Christ and now I'm going to heaven. Now teach me how to walk on earth for the next 40, 50, 60 years, however long I got left, when I have to deal in an economy that is of capitalism, right? I got to deal with an economy that preys on the financially illiterate, that keeps me in bondage via debt. And I think churches could play a bigger role in helping people in those areas. So, a couple examples. Reverend Dennis Dillon of Brooklyn, New York, offers his members one of the most aggressive, biblically based economic development programs in America. He built from scratch the Economic Revival Center, a 12,000 square foot conference facility that provides the congregation the ability and the community with instruction on small business startup, real estate development, investment clubs, and business networking strategies. On Saturdays, the center holds special spiritual services that attract nearly 1,200 people to hear Reverend Dillard's biblical sermons that teach economic strategies for wealth creation and debt reduction. Right? But here's the thing. This would require the pastor, this will require the church leadership to learn and practice some of these principles as well. And if they're not willing to learn themselves, they've got to bring in the professionals, someone who can bring this message home. Wheat Street Baptist Church in Atlanta is another center of religious capitalism, collecting $50,000 annually in rent from the 10 businesses operating in 2 malls owned and developed by the church. The pioneering Wheat Street Church has had its economic development program in place for 25 years under the guidance of church leaders skilled in economics and business development. Wheat Street's 2,000 member congregation opened a credit union and has over $1 million in assets and a real estate portfolio which worth approximately $33 million. Right? Nothing wrong with making a dollar and making a difference at the same time. The Wheat Street's real estate holdings include Wheat Street Towers, a senior citizen home, a Wheat Street Gardens, a low-income family housing development. Wheat Street's business manager, Eugene Jackson, told Black Enterprise, "Our mission is about creating economic opportunities for the people in our community. It goes back to teaching a man how to fish versus giving a man a fish." Right? Wheat Street is far from the only religious establishment serving up a mix of scripture and economic empowerment. Reverend James Wale Edwin Dixon II, senior pastor of the 2,500-member Northwest Community Baptist Church in Houston, helped his congregation develop a 36,000 square foot shopping center that is home to the Deliverance Grocery and Deli Institute, a grocery store training center. Not bad for a pastor who took over the church when he was just barely old enough to vote. Brother took over the church when he was 18 years old, right? So when we're talking about the Black church, the reason that's important is because the Black church is really the only institution in our communities, right? See, we talk about racism being institutional, and we tend to try to fight racism as individuals, primarily because we don't have institutions. And the institutions that we do have, i.e. the Black churches, a lot of them are not financially stable enough, financially astute enough to stand on their own 2 feet. And it's very easy when you're not financially stable and you're not financially astute to be bought, to be told to stand down, right? When you participate in faith-based initiatives and take government funding and handouts, a lot of times those things come with conditions. But when you can build your own wealth as an institution, It's hard for anybody to tell you what you can and cannot do. And if you want to build an economic empowerment center that offers free training to your communities, and you have the financial wherewithal to maintain such an endeavor, then you can. But when you are not creating income producing assets, why is it that the Catholic Church can sit empty? These huge cathedrals primarily sit empty 5 days a week, 6 days a week, but the yard is kept in pristine condition, right? The buildings are prestigious, well maintained. How is it that they don't have to sell fish plates and all of these things? Because as a nonprofit organization, you do have the right to own for-profit entities. And the Catholic Church owns not only lots of real estate, but they own lots of businesses as well. And it's time for our institutions to start understanding the role that they play and how they can add capitalism to not only their practice and under their umbrella so that they can build a financial dynasty, right? Think about this. How many churches have endowments for their students to go to college that the church can pay for, right? How many churches have endowment funds so that they can have down payment grants for their congregation when they want to buy homes, right? Because a lot of our churches aren't trying to hear how to invest. Scripture says that the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. Vanessa says she received the book also. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for grabbing the book. Hopefully you like it, man. Writing that book was a joy to me, and hopefully it's a joy for you when you read it, right? A lot of the scripture says the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. You know how the righteous can get some of that wealth? By investing, building businesses, investing in infrastructure, and buying land. And come on, man, we've got to rethink our whole economic empowerment game plan, especially when we're starting to look generationally. 36 million people filed for unemployment in the last 2 months, y'all. Out of that 36 million people, how many people do you think are going to be permanently without work whenever the country opens back up? And we already know, man, like Dr. Fraser often says, when America catches a cold, Black America catches pneumonia. So if 36 million Americans lost their job and millions of them are not going back to work, how many more millions of us will not be going back to work? And what do we do then? What do we do then? We've got to learn how to create opportunities for ourselves. And one of the ways that we could create multiple opportunities all at the same time is by redeveloping our own communities, right? You want to stop police brutalizing Black people? Own your own community. See, when you don't own your own community, you can't dictate who polices it. I'm going to run that one back too. When you don't own your own community, you don't dictate who polices it. and how it's policed. But when you own your own community, you say who the police chief is. You mandate and vote on and instill and enforce the laws that says, hey, if you don't live in this community, you can't even apply to be a police officer in this community. Huh? Yeah, if you don't live in this community, I mean, actually live, I'm not talking about have a house in this community, but you live somewhere else. If you don't live in this community, you can't be a police in this community. Because if you live here and you got to know your neighbors, and you got to know the children that play here, and you see one of them getting off track, you'd be less likely to pull your gun out. Because chances are you went to school with their parents. You don't want to have to face them after killing their kid unjustly. This opportunity for us is the hugest opportunity, I think, of them all. And it doesn't take a whole lot to get started, man. Few of us come together, make some moves. A few more come together, make some moves. And then you have my few who came together with another few who came together. Now we have clusters of people who've already come together and established some ways of doing some things. Now we come together. And now we have a bigger network, and then our bigger network connects with another few clusters that came together, and now that bigger network just exploded, and we just march on about doing our work with no fanfare. It's taking our time systematically, buying the places that we want to live, rebuilding, providing jobs, providing business opportunities, recirculating the money, right? We hear all the time that Black people have a 1.6, 1.82 trillion dollar spending capacity, and I'm not here to argue against that. But I think Dr. Claude Anderson says spending and power don't go together. You don't have spending power. But one of the reasons we don't spend with each other is we don't make it convenient to. Goes back to us not wanting to have, we not only do we not want to live in some of the communities that we were raised, and I get it because crime, because of beautification efforts have gone down, that there's no money in the city, and the cities are going bankrupt. So we don't want to live in those communities, and therefore we don't want to establish businesses in those communities. So when we put our businesses out in the suburbs, in order for me to spend with a business, I got to run all over the city to find Black-owned establishments to spend with. That's not how other cultures do it, man. You go into other cultures and all of their businesses are clustered together. Why? Because people shop and spend money when it's convenient. So when I go to the dry cleaners, the grocery store is next door. When I go to the grocery store, the auto mechanic is next door. So I get my car inspected and my tires rotated while I'm at the grocery store. Right? When I go to a restaurant, there's 17 of them in one location and they're all Black-owned. So I just pick one and I just fall in and I eat. The next time I'm in that area, I pick a different one. But no, we don't want to be around one another. We think there's something called competition. It's not competition, man. Everywhere you see a McDonald's, you see a Wendy's and a Burger King. Everywhere you see a Church's Chicken, you see a Popeye's Chicken and a Lee's and a Kentucky Fried Chicken. You got to learn from the successful models that are all around us. Ladies and gentlemen, man, it has been a quick 1 hour, and it's going to wrap up the show for us today, man. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this. Please do me a favor if you're checking us out on Facebook or YouTube. Make sure that you share the show with someone else, ladies and gentlemen. I actually wanted to show you guys some of the websites for some of these churches, but we didn't get around to that. Nevertheless, I appreciate you guys all for tuning in and sharing part of your morning with me. Until I talk to you guys on Monday, we have a very special guest, Tara Whitney, Coach Whitney. She's going to be talking about manifestation. She's going to be breaking down her luxury uh, lifestyle app that she's developed, why it's important for Black people to get involved in tech, such as app creation and things of that nature. So we got a wonderful show set for you guys on Monday. So be right back here Monday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And we're going to introduce you to Tara Whitney. She's going to break down how, you know, being a female in entrepreneurship, using social media, and really growing a brand from scratch is her claim to fame. So with that, man, we're out of here. Until I talk to you guys next time, I want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you.